All right, let's look at Christie being insulted by Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity has decided that Christie is woke now, I guess. Let's take a listen.
I guess what's happening here, I guess that Christie is just going on full on, woke.
Is he drunk? Does he sound like he's slurring to you? I'm going to play that again. You tell me if this sounds kind of slurry. I mean, hey, I'm not one to judge. I've definitely drank very often on my shows.
I guess what's happening here, I guess that Christie is
I guess what's happening here. He does sound a little buzzed, huh?
just going on full on, woke. Apparently, when he went to the Faith and Family Coalition,
Probably went to Faith Family Coalition. Apparently, he went there and he said, "Wokety woke." And so, we probably, he's woke now. So, we always knew he was fat, but now he's fat and woke. So that's folk or whack or whatever. And we can't have that, That's not my Republican Party, man.
Speech, he discussed he came out against bans on sex change treatments for minors. That's Christie.
What a piece of shit. I love when one of these Republicans gets canceled and lambasted by their fellow Republicans for like their one not being a piece of shit maneuver. Because like Christie is a total piece of garbage. He agrees with 99.9% of the Republican agenda, but because he is going to differentiate himself on an issue like that, they're basically just be like, nope, disowned. You're gone. You're fat. Get out of here.
Well, what do I have to talk about with him? I have more in common with Gavin Newsom. At least Gavin's honest about who he is. Christie is not a Republican.
See what I mean? That's all it takes. All it takes is the tiniest little deviation. They are so collectivistic, it's not even funny. Like, have you ever thought about like the crazy amount of sheer ideological difference between different people who identify as like leftists in this country? Like massive, huge, gigantic, substantive disagreements, like entirely different philosophies of organization, entirely different political values, and they both call themselves leftists. They might say the other one is a fake leftist, but they both call themselves leftists. But these Republicans, man, it's like the tiniest little sliver of deviation, and it's like, oh my God, you are not a Republican, sir. You don't agree on one issue? Well, then you're not one of us. You're one of those wokes. Yeah, this dude is drunk. I mean, Sean Hannity's drunk as a skunk.
Christie is on a mission to be liked by the media mob, and he's there to do as much damage to every conservative candidate.
Well, yeah. When you are running in the primaries, you're trying to damage your opponents and make yourself look as good as possible. That's the game. Welcome to Politics 101, you gibbering dolt.
And he's taking up space on a stage.
I'm surprised you didn't say he's taking up a lot of space on a stage, if you know what I'm saying.
No desire, absolutely no hope of ever being president.
That much is true.
And he just thinks that it's, God has anointed him to be the Trump slayer. Well, Donald Trump's probably not going to any of these debates.
Well, Donald Trump probably not going to these debates. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Wow. He was drunker than I thought. The more I listened to that clip, the drunker he sounded to me. The more I saw, indicators of him completely slurring his words. As far as his analysis of Christie goes, it's not like entirely wrong or anything. I mean, he says that Christie is trying to be a media darling, which he's not only trying to be that, he is that. I've seen him on news shows all over the place. He's clearly made inroads with the media to get himself all over your television set for anybody who still watches cable news. The idea that he has no chance whatsoever being president, I think, is fundamentally true. He's polling right now at about 2.3%. And yeah, I know it's early on, but like I really don't see him cracking 5. I don't really see any Republicans going to him. I don't really think that there is some sort of element within the Republican Party that's just desperately clamoring for the anti-Trump at this point, which he's not even the anti-Trump. He's just a guy that's willing to attack Trump. But the attacks he's made against Trump so far have been pretty weak sauce. You know, he's just like, he's not a good leader. Like, what does that mean? That's just vague garbage. So, yeah, Sean Hannity, I mean, say what you want about him, and I do constantly. He's a piece of shit. He's a moron. He's a slurring, stammering nitwit, but he is absolutely dead on balls accurate in his assessment of Chris Christie as a human being and as a candidate. You know, he is all the things he says he is. The only thing that he's not, the only thing he's actually wrong on is saying that Chris Christie is not a Republican. Chris Christie is definitely a Republican. His deviation from the Republican norms on this one issue does not all of a sudden make him some kind of woke guy. You know, the people on the woke side don't want him. The people on the woke side don't agree with him. He still agrees with 99.9% of Republican talking points, so he still belongs over on that side. Thank you very much. Not someone we're looking to take off your hands. Was Hannity the guy that offered to get waterboarded? Yes. Hannity said that waterboarding is not torture, and he said that he was willing to get waterboarded to prove that it wasn't torture, and then he has ignored that he ever said that ever since. I wish he would just come out and say, like, hey, I'm not getting waterboarded. I'm not doing it. But instead, he's just ignored it. I think for, you know, something like 10 years now, 15 years. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to what happened with Christopher Hitchens, because Christopher Hitchens also said that waterboarding was not torture and agreed that he would go through with it. He would allow himself to be waterboarded. And unlike Sean Hannity, he actually did it. And shortly after he did it, he said, I was absolutely wrong. That is torture. And it should not be done. So respect to Hitchens. Started off with a dumb opinion, put his money where his mouth is, realized he was wrong, did a course correction. So, you know, even if you don't like Hitchens, you got to admit, he had some balls. Yes, enhanced interrogation techniques. What a beautiful euphemism. Isn't waterboarding the one where they pour water over your face to nearly drown you? Yeah, they put a rag on your head and they kind of hang you not completely upside down, but semi upside down, and then they pour water on your face, and apparently it makes you feel like you're drowning. You're not actually at risk of drowning, I don't think. But it feels very much like you're drowning, and your body goes into like a panic state. Remember some conservative commentator called Man Cow did waterboarding. He even said it was torture. I think that there were a few people who said it wasn't torture, were challenged to do it, and of the ones who I know of that did it, they all recanted the idea that it wasn't torture. Sean Hannity agreed to do it, but then didn't, because he is, in fact, a little... No, TJ, waterboard does drown you, and it can kill you. I've never heard of that happening, but it's not like I'm reading Waterboarding Quarterly or anything, so you could very well be right. I encourage anyone to do their own research into that.